This is our second week of plant families in our foods. So welcome everybody. We're really happy to have you. Um, the same as last time, you don't have to memorize a ton of facts with this class. We are going to be looking at one plant family that we eat different foods from, and we'll be looking inside of some of the flowers and learning some of the patterns. But as usual, this isn't about memorizing facts. This is just about practicing seeing botany, seeing flowers, hopefully to get you all excited for when you're out in the field, so that way it becomes easier and easier to look inside of flowers and think, what is this? Like, then you'll begin to recognize parts and you'll think, why is it like that? What does this mean that all of these parts are in combination? And hopefully it'll help make botany a little bit less frightening, except for the poison plants. Those should remain frightening. So I think more people will continue to arrive, but we are going to get started on our slideshow. So if you'll just give me a second, please. So here we go, week number 2 of plant families in our foods. So like we did last time, I would like to encourage you to take 2 minutes to sketch this flower. You don't have to sketch it very precisely. You don't have to worry too much about details. Just sketch whatever you can for the next 2 minutes. And after that, we will, for another minute, add our words and our numbers to our picture. You can start. Thank you.
Hi, Bea. Hi, everyone. It's Judy.
Hi, Judy. We are just sketching out our flower here on our screen. And there's no need to get it perfect. Just sketch whatever you can for about a minute and a half now more. And then after that, we will add words and numbers to our picture. Okay, take a few more seconds. And that's our time for our drawing. Now you can take a minute or so to add any words, any describing words that you'd like, or numbers to your picture. All right, there's our minute. And for our next picture, we'll be doing the same thing. 2 minutes to draw these flowers, as much or as little as you can. No worries, no stress. Take about 30 more seconds. Now, please take the next minute to add any words or numbers to your pictures, describing words, details, questions. Questions are always good. And that is our minute. And on to our third picture and final before we begin our official discussion. Like the last two, please take 2 minutes to sketch. Please take a few more seconds. And once again, please take 1 minute to add any words or numbers to your picture. A few more seconds. And that's it. Welcome, sorry, officially welcome to the mustard family. um, the official name of our family of the day is Brassicaceae. It's named for the genus Brassica, which is the Latin name for cabbage. And you'll hear that a lot in the ones that we eat. Brassica makes up a lot of the ones that we eat, although there are other genuses. The old name, and I include this because I think it's important to know, is Cruciferae. Now, you might not hear this anymore these days, like when you hear botanists talking about different families, but every once in a while, if you get somebody who learned it the old way, you might hear somebody say Cruciferae. Sometimes I'll say that, or you might hear cruciferous vegetables. That's referring, can everybody see my mouse? That's referring to these 4 petals that are characteristic of the family. As you can see, they form an X or sort of a cross. So that's why the name is Cruciferae. It's very characteristic. So that's something good to remember. And here's our anatomy. As usual, I'll include our basic flower diagram here. We have our stem, we have our sepals. These are the little leaf-like bits that are right underneath the petals themselves. Then we have our petals, we have our stamens, and we have our pistil. And the way that I remember this is that pistils make seeds and stamens make pollen. So PSSP, pistils, seeds, stamens, pollen. And that's what a flower would look like if it had all of its parts. And at least in this family, the ones that I've seen tend to have all of their parts. I drew this in somewhat different colors because there's a lot going on in the flowers and it's kind of difficult to see. So we have our 4 sepals. A lot of times you'll notice that these are almost standing upright, like almost like they tuck in the petals. It's hard to explain. It's almost like, I wish I had a good way to put it, but it's sort of like the way that you sometimes will get a jacket that will nicely make the collar pop straight up instead of the collar just kind of hanging out. I don't know if that makes sense. And then we have our petals. Sometimes, as you've seen in some pictures, they're a little bit more floppy than this and they come out further, but they kind of also pop up before they go out. And then we have 6 stamens, although I couldn't draw them all here, but we tend to have 4 that are taller than the others, and then 2 that are shorter. So that's also very characteristic of this family. And then usually we'll just have 1 long pistil kind of sticking out. And it'll get easier as we look at some pictures to see this. So that is our family today. And again, these are our key characteristics. 4 sepals, as you can see here. These are the sepals. We have 4 petals. You can see the yellow ones here. Then we have our 6 stamens, 4 long and 4 short. I'm trying to see if we have a good visual of that here. Well, yeah, you sort of can. So you all see these little, yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stamens, and those are the long ones. And then we have the 2 short stamens over here, kind of notched in and tucked where the petals overlap a little bit, see, at the edges of the petals. So there are 6. And then we have our 1 pistil, and that's our nice big bright yellow ball right here in the center. Another thing that you'll notice, and you can't really see it too well in this picture, but you might in some future ones, is that the flowers and the fruits go radially up the stalk of the flower. sort of like a spiral staircase, and we call that a raceme. But that's a name you don't really, I mean, again, that's vocabulary. If you just know what it looks like, if you just know that it goes in a spiral staircase sort of thing, that's what matters. And I included this picture because I wanted you all to be able to see what one of the fruits looks like. It looks, to me, it kind of reminds me a bit of a pea pod. So after, after it gets pollinated, then the sepals, the petals, and the stamens fall away, and then you're left with this pistil that kind of swells up and gets big. Now, not all fruits have this elongated form like this one does. Some of them are a bit squatter, um, you know, but they will all have a membrane in the middle too that separates one half from the other, and we call that a silique. But again, these are all, vocabulary you don't necessarily have to know, just patterns to look for. And as always, the important thing is to let the plant that's in front of you tell you. Before I continue, does anybody have any questions? You can unmute yourself. I can't really see the Zoom chat, so just let me know if you have questions. Any so far?
So I
Hmm.
have one.
Yeah.
The elongated pistil, then is that part of the, I mean, oh, it's a pistil. I'm confused. So there's 6 stamens.
Mhm.
And then the pistil, there's only one pistil in the middle.
Yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
so we have our
okay.
so we have can you see my mouse on the edge here?
Yes.
So we have our 6 stamens here, all making their pollen, and you can't see it very well, but right here in the very middle is the pistil. It's
Okay, and it's going to shoot up.
Yep, it shoots up. So it
Okay.
shoots up as if it were coming out of the screen at us, and then that's what this
Like
is. So that's
okay.
the same round uh, that we're seeing right there. That's the same bit we're seeing.
Okay, good. That helps. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked. It's always good. It's always good to ask and to clarify. So are there any other questions?
Yeah, hi, Eva, and everyone. I noticed the buds are all purple on the first two. They're purple buds on the first one, and the second one had like the dark red elongated ones. Is it purple on the third one as well? Are they
Oh,
purple?
are you meaning? Are you meaning in an earlier
Yes,
picture?
yes, yeah,
Oh, here.
yes. And on the other one too, isn't that buds down at the lower part?
Oh, yeah, these. So I believe it's difficult to tell from this picture. At first, I thought that these were some of the unopened ones. Like I know that this is an unopened bud.
Right.
So sometimes there'll be some different colors. In this one, it seems like it has the purple for the
Right.
unopened parts.
The
But
second one too, yeah.
I'm guessing that some other ones might have different colors. But yeah, you can see an
Oh,
unopened bud right here for sure.
okay. Thanks.
Does that sort of answer? But that's a good question, and I like your observation. Those are important to note. Those kinds of things. Are there any other questions, or it's okay. As we go on, people can ask questions. So here's our next slide. Let's look inside a little bit. So this is what it might look like from the outside. As you see the sepals, the leaf-like little bits here, kind of pushing the petals up. Sometimes the petals will flop. Sometimes they'll just stick up like this. This one, yeah, this one's a broccoli flower, and it's difficult to see because yeah, you can see 4 of the 6 stamens or the pollen making little bits. There's one here, and there's one here. Those are the tall ones. And then you have one short one here and one short one here. And then this right here in the middle is that pistil that later on shoots up and becomes really tall. You see? Yeah. They're very dainty little flowers. I like them.
So that one again, you said what is broccoli?
Yeah, this is a broccoli flower.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll give folks a chance if they want to just sketch for a moment, and then we'll go on to the next bit. I like these because if you look at this one in particular, you can see all of the pollen here on the ends. Can you all see the grains of pollen? Right here on the ends. And then you can sort of see it hitting the pistil here in the middle too. You can see the little grains of pollen all over it. They're very happy plants. Sometimes I like watching the bumblebees visit them in the garden.
Yvette, I had a question for you. So you pointed out you see pollen on the pistil. So does that mean that that one got pollinated and it's going to make broccoli?
It might, yeah.
Oh, it might.
Or it will make seeds, I should say. It means it's likely that it's probably been pollinated because it has it all on it. So it's very likely. And it would have made seeds if I hadn't eaten it. The flowers are really of these ones.
How many sepals did you say there were?
So there are
Generally?
four sepals. So
Okay.
1, 2, 3, and then a fourth that you can't see on the other side.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
Vea, were you going to talk about the ovary? Can you see it in this picture?
In this one, I'm thinking it's here. I remember that it's positioned superior. And that, okay, so that one, when you look at where the petals and the sepals meet the stem, the question that a lot of botanists will ask is the ovary above that point or below that point or somewhere like right around? And so if the ovary or the bit with the seeds is above, then it means that it's a superior ovary. So this would be the part somewhere in here where the seeds would start to get made, except that it wouldn't stop here. The seeds would get made all the way up through here. So this is the ovary, all of this. And then up here would be the stigma and the style, because that's where all the seeds. Okay. Oops. So forgot to do the animation, but here are the foods that are in Brassicaceae. I figured people already could guess about the broccoli, but there's a whole bunch of other ones on this list. A whole bunch of them. We have our mustards and our radish, and our broccoli, our cauliflower, our cabbage, our Brussels sprouts, all of these, collard greens, kohlrabi, kale, turnips, horseradish. Well, I guess that's not too surprising, turnips and radishes. Horseradish, wasabi, bok choy, tatsoi, canola, like the type, like the canola oil, and also arugula. Now, I have a question. Are there ones that you thought would have been on this list that you're surprised not to see? Are there any you would expect to see, but you don't see?
I thought spinach would be on there.
That's a good question. Yeah. Spinach is in a different family. That one is in, I'm not sure whether they've been combined or not, because this is all confusing to me, but it's in either Amaranthaceae or Chenopodiaceae. And I'm not sure if those two have been combined. But that's a good question. I'm guessing that you think that because spinach is a leafy green as well, like a lot of these.
It tastes very similar to tatsoi.
It does.
So I'm very surprised to see the turnip in there because that's a root vegetable, whereas the others are all growing above ground.
True, except for this radish.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
kohlrabi.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wait, isn't the kohlrabi kind of that bulge in between? Well, I'm excited to show the next slide because the next slide will talk a little bit more about some of these. Now, one of the fun things is that within the family itself and the ones that you'll see in the wild, there's a lot of different genuses, but within the ones that we eat, it's fairly limited. In fact, this list here, plus some others I didn't include, are all the exact same species, just different cultivars of it. So kale, collard greens, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, all of this on this list, all of them are Brassica oleracea. All of them.
You know what also wasn't on that list is broccolini.
Broccolini. That should have been on the list, but I figured broccoli and broccolini were. But yeah, you're right though. Broccolini is on that list. And so all of these are the exact same species. Some of them, well, most of them have been cultivated over time. Also, there's about 6 ones, and I can't remember which species, but there's about 6 species that are really closely related to each other. And so I know that they talk about a lot of cultivars, but also there's a lot of, I want to say almost like there's a lot of sharing between these 6 species. And I can't remember the names of the other. I know that Brassica rapa is one of them, and then, but I can't remember the others. But I thought you might find this interesting to know that some of the ones that we eat are the exact same species, just that they were maybe selected for different parts or cultivated for different parts. So for our kale and our collard greens, we might like our leafy bits of them. But for the cabbage, we prefer maybe that, just, that form of it, where it's got a lot of sugars in it. And well, that's another thing about this family is their stems, as you can see here. Those sugars in those stems are what help them to survive the long winters. That's why we'll see this mostly at this time of year, is because they're a lot more suited, not completely, of course, but a lot more suited for cold climates than some of the others. And I see that Laura is raising her hand. What's up?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can.
Okay. Did you have like actual mustard the spice on your list?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just I didn't see it up close. I was like across the room, but
Oh, no
yeah,
worries.
the seed. Oh, first one, perfect.
And in this picture, in the background, you can see some mustard grains too.
Nice. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So the spice of mustard is from like the seeds of the mustard plants? Okay.
There are different kinds of mustard too, though. So
The one we know is generally that we have mustard on a veggie burger, whatever. What kind of plant is that?
That's a good question. I want to say.
Weird that I've never even thought about it.
Well, I know there's like brown mustards and like there's Brassica nigra, which is all over the place.
Yes.
I think I've seen like the black mustard seeds for sale in the spice, section.
Yeah.
And there's also white mustard.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of different ones, and I'd say that if you're curious about that one, that's definitely something to look into.
For sure. Now I'm stoked.
That's
I'm all, like,
curiosity.
I'm making my own mustard already.
I wonder if that it's picked at a different time, or is it a different cultivar?
I want all of these questions that you're asking, I want you to write them down, and I want you to look into them, because that is how, that's the curiosity bug, and that's the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole begins when you're looking at that mustard that you see in the field and you nibble on the leaves and they taste, well, not maybe the leaves, but the flowers. The flowers taste really, really good. And then you wonder how deep that taproot goes. And then you find out everything else it's related to. And then you want to know how to cultivate what. Yes, all of those questions. That's what you want to be writing down and looking up.
And the other thing that's really striking is almost all of these are super easy to grow, except horseradish. Horseradish is practically impossible to cultivate.
I wonder now, okay.
Wasabi, I'm thinking wasabi.
Now, of course, I'm going to have to look into see how people.
Not horseradish, wasabi.
Well, it's good that you
I have wasabi. Maybe it's wasabi arugula. It grows well. Anyway, I don't want to distract, but that's interesting.
Okay. I believe that the next bit is the part. I know that this is a bit early, but either way, I believe that the next bit is the part that it's my favorite part. And if that's the case, then I'm going to ask Anne to please be on standby to launch the poll. Let's see if this is right. Yes. Let's play Spot the Brassicaceae. Cool. So if you take a look.
And if the poll is covering up, I think you can drag it and move the box or minimize the box, get it out of the way.
Eileen.
And if you could mute yourself if you're not barking.
When I look at the poll, does it show up on everybody else's screen too, or no?
It showed up, yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll move it out of the way.
I lost mine.
I don't want to use why.
I lost a poll.
Yeah, I've got the pictures, but not the poll.
Well, after I submitted my poll, the screen went away.
It's okay. We can also do this. We can also do this later on. So, or on the next one. But it seems like a lot of people have voted, and everybody's gotten it right. So, so no worries. Everybody got it right. It is, in fact, oh, come on, broccoli. Everybody got this one. So. flowering. This is flowering broccoli. So all of the bits of broccoli that we eat, does anybody know what part of the plant those are?
Mm,
Um,
the leaves? No.
We
Flower-
sometimes eat the leaves.
Flower heads?
The flower.
Isn't it the flower heads that we eat?
Yep, but what flower heads in what stage?
The buds.
The buds. Yes.
Flower buds. Oh, okay.
When we eat broccoli, we're not eating the flowers, we're eating the flower buds. We're eating them before they get to become little delightful yellow flowers. And they taste really good too. So
was the first picture that we saw, was that the broccoli flower that we drew? First picture that we drew?
yes, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was like light yellow, so pretty. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Sometimes I have a hard time telling some of them apart. Like I said, I blame that because they're all Brassicaceae. Okay, here we go. Round 2.
my
Oh, that's harder.
Ah, did the pull lunch?
No, not yet.
Oh my goodness. I can't tell.
It's okay. Ah, thank you.
Because it went down.
Thank you. Sorry about that. And thank you, Anne, for, I wouldn't know how. So thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. Here, I'll lower it so people can see better.
All these flowers are so pretty.
They really are. They were fun to photograph.
The leaves on the middle one are very interesting.
They are.
Take all of those?
I took all of the pictures. Yeah.
Oh, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Great job.
Plus, I'm excited to ask you all a question about one of the other flowers in this once we're done. Okay, I see that 19 folks have voted. I'll give you all maybe a couple more seconds. Yeah, 10 more seconds. Okay, are you all ready to find out? Okay, and okay, sorry. And we're going to, it was A, bittercress. So I know that one was a little bit more tricky, especially because this one also had 4 petals. So this one, I included the photo of these seeds here, of these, of this, the, what you call it? The pistil. Thank you. Yes, the pistil. Just as that was my giveaway here. It's a little bit harder to see the flowers, and I apologize for that. But when you can see these pistils here, these elongated ones, that's a really, really good sign that you're looking probably at a Brassicaceae, and that's when you want to look a little bit closer. Now, I have a little bonus question. What do y'all make of this flower here in the center?
Rosaceae.
Yes. That was a bonus.
Good job.
I put that in there because I wanted people to to enjoy our little recap from last week. This is Rosaceae with all of the huge abundance of stamens here, and our gosh darn it, our hypanthium and our petals. Yes, very nice, Jasmine. Okay, ready for round 3? Here goes. Oh, sorry. Here, I can move that down. Sorry. Sometimes it's a challenge to figure out what shows and what doesn't on this, so thank you all for your patience. Let's see. Okay. And don't worry too much about whatever you guess. Remember, this is all just about learning. And this pool is supposed to be fun. So please don't worry. Like, whatever you get, it's fine. This is all just learning. Okay. I will give folks about 10 more seconds to vote. And cool, very cool. And let's see here. And oops, sorry. And it was our middle one here, our wallflower. So you can see that we have a lovely little a silique here. Whoops, sorry. We have our stigma. Sorry. Yes, Kitty, I agree. Yes, yes. We have our pistil up in here. This one's a little bit harder because this first one here, it's hard to tell that it has 4 petals, but it does. And then you can see the unopened buds here. Remind me a lot of broccoli personally. And this is some kind of an ornamental wallflower in a plot close to mine. I personally, if I could have, I would have gone out to the Presidio and taken a picture of a wild one. But I was just so stoked to see this in the garden. I was like, oh, I didn't really know that they had ornamental ones of these. So this is, and I like this too, because even though it is still a yellowish color, it's still a little bit different from the other ones that we've been seeing. So that's fun because not all of the Brassicaceae have yellow flowers. Okay, ready for our final round? Here we go. Very cool. All right, I'll give people another 10 seconds to vote. I see almost everybody's voted, so that's awesome. Oh, excellent. And that is our poll. And everybody got it. That is our sweet alyssum. So I'm curious to know what told people that the sweet alyssum was the Brassicaceae? Sorry about the traffic.
The four petals.
Yes, the 4 petals.
Yep.
And then you could see the 6,
The
what is that?
stamen.
The stamen in there, yeah.
Stamen.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
2 here out on the edges, and then the 4 and the 4. Yep. Anything else?
I think that the thick stems that it's branching off of.
Yeah.
The sort of spiral staircase.
Mhm.
And the way it's branching off of.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely a huge characteristic. And you can even sort of see the spiral staircase here, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So lovely.
Yeah.
And you can see the bright little pistil sticking out too. Yeah.
So does this bloom from the top down?
That is a good question. I'm pretty sure. I'm not totally sure, and that would make me want to investigate it more. I had thought that it bloomed from the bottom up, but it could bloom from the top down, so that's a good question. And I would like to look further into that too. And that is our recap here. Our characteristics are our 4 sepals here that almost act a little bit like, the thing that straightens up your collar. Our lovely 4 petals, oftentimes with very rounded edges. Our stamens, 4 long and 2 short. Our 1 pistil is usually very bright and looks very round, and our spiral staircase fruits on the stalks. So that is our family for today. And
We had a question in the chat from Katie, who's on her iPhone, and she says, could you please tell us the names of the other 2 plants we were drawing in the beginning?
oh, okay, yes. Here, give me a quick second.
Okay.
If I can go all the way back. La, la, la. Okay. Hard to remember, but I think that this might have been one of the broccoli.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier.
Yeah, I thought this was the broccoli. This one in here, I want to say that this was one of the
Arugula, I have it planted all in my front yard, and they're blooming, and they look just like that. But you know,
Yeah, I just picked this arugula. I don't know, can you see?
You're right, it was an arugula because of that petals. Okay, wait, let me see. I'm gonna find you. Who's speaking? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I happened to pick arugula just because it was right out my window when the class started.
Cool.
And this is it.
Yeah, I can see it. That is awesome.
I have them growing in my garden, and you know, we eat the leaves, but I let the flowers go to seed, so then I plant them over again.
Cool. Okay, so that's right. Okay, so this was the arugula. Sometimes, like I said, I get them kind of mixed up sometimes when all I can see are the flowers. I just see flower, put in my mouth, flower, put in my mouth. Not with the wild ones, just with the garden ones.
Yeah, and my husband's probably cross that I picked this instead of letting it go to seed, but
still delicious.
Just a teeny bit.
The arugula is really good in a salad and on top of soup, the flowers.
Very true.
Put them in sandwiches too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that other one was the arugula, and this one I think is our radish. I think this one's our radish flower.
Oh.
I see this sometimes out in the Presidio, and that I have to yank out. Sometimes people let them go to seed, or sometimes they're just too woody to really pull up. So I don't know. Sometimes these ones can be kind of tricky. Okay, there we go. Cool. I guess that was it. Did anybody want to share? Well, I wanted to see Celia's plant again, so let me spotlight you.
Can you see? It's in focus.
Yep.
It's not necessarily the best sample because it's started going to seed. So it's sort of post-peak bloom, but
I think it's perfect. Anytime you can see a stage as it's transitioning from
yeah.
flower to seeds is wonderful. I think that that's wonderful to be able to see that.
Yeah. Well, it's fun having vegetables out the window.
That is awesome.